So I'm using my my little claw thingamajigger that I rescued from my kids. They thought it was great fun to use it, thinking that it's, you know, octopus or something. But anywho, I haven't done a vlog in a couple days again. My husband's home Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and I don't really have a chance to do vlogs very much while I'm there with him. You know, well, you guys have heard me say it before, but he's weird about me making videos and stuff. Like, he's weird overall. Sometimes he's fine and he's not grouchy or whatever, but other times, you know, I go out and do my videos and then I come in and he's just like super short-tempered and everything because he's watching the kids. And they are, you know, very tiring little rascals. Like, trust me, I understand getting short-tempered from watching them, but it just makes me nervous about spending time doing stuff like that when he's home. So I don't really do them during the weekend very much. You know, as we hopefully reach the point where I can put the kids in daycare for a couple of days a week and then have more time to work and clean the house and stuff like that, maybe he'll be in a better mood. I don't know. My advice, don't marry someone who doesn't respect the stuff that you're passionate about. Like, if something doesn't excite him, then he doesn't like understand why anyone else can be excited by something. And anyway, I'm not gonna go into all that. So the life insurance checks came. I wanted them to do a wire transfer, but like I was saying in the other vlog, they said that I would have to like resubmit all the paperwork and it would reset the 10 to 15 or 10 to 17 day timer and everything. So I was like, just fine, send a check. For some reason they split it up and they gave half to my dad and half to me, which is funny because it's all going to the same joint account that I started with my dad. But yeah, so the checks came and I didn't feel comfortable using e-banking, doing such a large amount because, you know, it's $10,000 for each of us, which, yay. I mean, it was like $60,000, but she took out almost a $30,000 loan for one of her many pyramid schemes. So little frustrating. Anyway, so I went to the physical bank. That's one of the reasons that I went with one of the banks that's actually here in the Pacific Northwest. One of the very frustrating things about how my mom left her finances, not only does she have all her stuff split between all these different banks, but almost none of the banks, I don't think actually any of them have a physical branch here in the Pacific Northwest, or if they do, they're way up in Seattle, which is like a 3-hour drive. And it's just, like Wells Fargo and stuff like that is only down in Southern California. And a lot has been switched over to, you know, e-banking and stuff like that. But there are certain things that they say that they require a physical person. Like when it comes to actually closing the account, maybe I can talk to somebody else. But when I did call, I can't remember if it was Wells Fargo or what, but and I told them, you know, my mom's dead and we'd like to close the account. The woman I talked to was very disinterested, and she said that I'd have to physically go into a branch to close it. I'm like, okay. And it's funny because I complained about it on Twitter, and then I got this, you know, customer service agent on Twitter that was like, we're sorry you had the experience, please let us know. And I was like, don't worry about it, whatever. And then I got a phone call who was like this like friendly, you know, middle-aged sounding lady who was like, hey, we saw your complaint and would you like us to investigate? Would you like to let us know who it was? And I was like, I'm not trying to like get anyone in trouble. Like, I don't know that lady's circumstances. Maybe her dog just died, or maybe she just, you know, is severely underpaid and overworked. Like, I don't want to get people in trouble. I'm just complaining to get it off my chest. And it's more endemic of, you know, the capitalist society overall that, you know, people are worked to death unless you're a fucking CEO. So, you know, the stimulus bill or whatever is basically passed. It has to go back to the House and then be signed by Biden. But for the most part, you know, it's what Democrats want, except for fucking Joe Manchin throwing a bunch of shit in there. And everybody's like, why? Like, you're pissing off Democrats, and you're not going to win any favors with Republicans who just hate anyone with a D in front of their name, regardless of what they actually, you know, support or don't support. Anyway, but it's still a really good bill. And I thought it was interesting that even with the dropped, with the even lower cutoff point of whether you get a check or not, it's like 80,000 for a single person, 150,000 for a couple, or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it is, but they said that even with that cutoff point, 80-something% of Americans are still going to qualify. So that wage is honestly quite low, and yet 80-something Americans qualify. It just ties back to the whole 1% thing and the you know, vastly unequal, I was trying to say inequity, unequal distribution of wealth in our fucked up capitalist, you know, society. Like, there's something to be said about competition where, you know, if a company has a monopoly, then they're going to do whatever the fuck they want. Hence the fuckery of Vimeo, because they're the only video host out there that allows non-sexual nudity but not porn. So they fuck me over, they fuck, you know, Hector Martinez over and all the rest of us. But that doesn't mean that, you know, a government-run thing can't be good. I mean, you have fucking, again, Texas, who made their own electric grid to get off, you know, not have to deal with federal regulations, and surprise, it fucking fell apart because they're so profit-driven that they didn't, you know, spend the extra money to weatherize their stuff, to weatherize their things. And what happens when you have a government-sponsored thing is if they do a shitty job, people will, you know, vote you out if you supported that shitty thing. Like, it's not like, you know, once the government is in charge of something, it's just like, let's, you know, we're all screwed. Like, the post office is still fucked up. I mean, I think I said it in one of the past videos, but I've been having a really hard time trying to reach the Office of Personal Management, who's in charge of retirement and stuff, to make sure that my dad's health benefits and stuff continue, even though my mom is dead now. And their phone number is defunct. Everything says to use their website, but the website is broken as hell. And like, everything is, you know, people are still getting their mail like a month late and stuff like that. And a big part of that is because fucking Trump appointed DeJoy, who was, of course, intentionally fucking up the mail so that mail-in voting, you know, was coming in too late and stuff like that. But, you know, it goes from the top down. Fish rots from the head, as the expression goes. And that's a big part, because they're trying to, Trump and all was trying to switch the USPS to like a profit-based thing. And it's like, no, the USPS is supposed to be for everybody. You know, it's not like the stamps and stuff does start to put a wealth cap on it. Anyway, it's just, Republicans don't make any sense. They're like, no to socialism, but let's keep you know, give more and more money to police. How you're giving government money to the police, but that's not socialism, but keeping people from dying because they can't afford the doctor, that's social. Fucking Republicans. Anyway, so back to my personal life. The checks came, I went in and I physically cashed them. There is a 9-day hold on them because it's such a big amount. So, gotta hold off on the hookers and blow, as I joked on Twitter, to which one of you guys was like, you know, how much do, you know, or get them in mostly one so you can pay hookers. I was like, no, they're paid in Bitcoin now and blah, 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 which of course is a real thing and is a whole, you know, sex workers are constantly being assaulted from every angle, and yet, you know, they've existed throughout human lineage. And as you know, our fucking culture, our American culture, makes no sense. You got, you know, how is porn legal but moderated, regulated, safety enforced prostitution isn't? Like, you think like, oh, prostitution is illegal, no one's gonna do it. No, you're doing it so that, you know, there's no protection for the sex workers. That's why you got the whole, you know, pimp thing or whatever. Like, they have to put up, I mean, this isn't all social, you know, all sex workers, but there are sex workers that work for abusive pimps because it's that level of protection or it's, you know, can you imagine trying to be like a freelance prostitute, and if some guy just decides not to pay you, what are you fucking gonna do? It's not like you can take him to court. Like, yeah. And of course, you know, my stance on drugs and stuff. I agree that we really, really need to shift away from criminalizing and putting people in jail for non-offensive, you know, non-assaultive crimes, and treat it as a health, you know, a medical thing instead, and give people a pathway to, if they want to, you know, wean themselves off the dependence of something or whatever, have free socialist programs in place to help them do that, rather than, you know, throw them in jail for being addicted to opiates and stuff like that. Anyway, yeah, you know me, very political. It's funny because I asked on Twitter, I was like, I don't understand these nudist accounts, a lot of which follow me, that all they post about is nudism. It's just like, oh, I love being naked. And it's like, don't you get bored just talking about that over and over? Like, you know, as I said in my interview with Kenny, which I don't even know if I have it available, censored somewhere. I don't, all my videos are a mess. Honestly, I'm little focused on trying to handle my mom's shit right now. But I'm definitely more in the camp of like, you know, if you want to be naked, great, you should be allowed to. But it's not like you're a bad person if you don't get naked every opportunity. So weird. Anyway, so a lot of the nudists replied, and a couple of them were like, yeah, I agree. Like, I talk about all sorts of stuff. But the other ones were like, well, it's my alt account, or I don't want to get political. And it's like, again, wanting to be naked anywhere without it being treated as sexual is political. When you say you don't want to get political, you're saying, you know, I don't want to rock the boat with stuff that I'm already profiting from. You know, I don't want to challenge racism or sexism or whatever. And you know, that's why a lot of them are full body nudity advocates rather than, you know, non-gender based censorship. They just want the whole thing open, whereas I am, you know, gender inequity focused with the whole topless rights and whatever. Yeah, I'm tired. So I deposited the stuff. I somehow wrenched my side as I was getting out of the car, so that I had like I couldn't even breathe deep without it hurting. And so the whole time I'm in the bank, I'm like trying not to breathe too loud. I probably looked like, you know, I was some kind of pervert or something. I was breathing weird. Anyway, and then there was a Five Guys right there, and I just texted Matthew and I was like, should I get Five Guys for dinner? He's like, sure. So I went in there. I've never been to Five Guys, but I keep hearing people talk about it like, oh, I love them so much. So I went in all like expecting stuff, and it was just like, it's just choose your own toppings burgers. And I'm like, what? Why does everyone talk about this? Like, it was funny because the guy working the counter was sort of that like stereotype from The Simpsons, where it's the, you know, young, pimply faced guy with the changing voice. And I was like, hey, I've never been to Five Guys before. I keep hearing about it. And he's just like, I was like, so what are your top sellers? He's like, well, these are our toppings. No, what do you sell the most of? And he's just like, we have burgers and cheese. I don't know. It's just funny to me. Anyway, I wasn't impressed. And then I posted on Twitter. I was like, why is everyone excited about that? And they're like, oh, it's the fries. The only difference about the fries is that they include skins, and I hate that. So I guess I'm not a Five Guys fan. Anyway, luckily my side stopped hurting after that. It was beautiful when I went out, which is nice because it still rains about half the day every day. And it's so funny because it'll switch over the course of an hour. It'll be beautiful, and then it's raining half an hour later. And it's just hard to, you know, because like I'll be like, before their nap, I'll be like, okay, you can go to the park after your nap. And then during the course of their nap, it starts pouring rain. But that's Portland for you. Before you know it, it's going to be back to 100-degree days. And hopefully by then we'll have the patio remodel, whatever, done. Except that I still don't know who to hire, and I'm really nervous about it because online reviews are fake, like 90% of them. So I had texted the realtor that sold us our house, and she said she would give me some recommendations, but she never replied, or she never got back to me, so I don't know if she forgot or what. I don't know. But we can't do it, you know, until the check's clear anyway, so lots of plans, but still just kind of surviving day to day. And yet so many people have so much better. The mood definitely feels different. I mean, you have people like living again a little bit. I have to check myself because Matthew's vaccinated, but I'm not, and my dad's not. He's eligible, but I have not been able to figure out how to use the website to schedule him yet, because all the links just seem to link back to each other, and like, I don't know, I gotta take another shot at it. I was listening to Pod Save America, and they were talking about 15, seeing what I'm at, trying not to go over 20 minutes. And they were talking about how vaccines are getting more and more accessible, especially with the whole new Johnson & Johnson and Mesner? I can't remember the name of the other company, but anyway, how Biden worked out a deal where they're both going to be producing the Johnson & Johnson single dose. And they were saying on Pod Save America, you know, we're going to get to a point where it's not lack of vaccine, it's lack of, you know, willingness to get a vaccine, because there's still a fuck ton of Republicans refusing to get it. And it's like a combination of, you know, oh, Biden sabotaged it, or oh, they rushed it out, or just in general anti-vaccine nonsense. And, you know, anti-vaxxers have been a growing problem all along. And I remember when there was a measles outbreak right here in Portland that was one of the epicenters of the year. And I mean, compared to coronavirus, it was nothing. But I was nervous because measles can fuck you up. It can, you know, you can catch measles and have problems from it years and years and years down the road that you weren't anticipating. But then you got all these soccer mom anti-vaxxers. Oh, I can cure cancer with, you know, chia seeds or whatever. Essential oils cure cancer. No, they fucking don't. And Aiden was too young to get a vaccine at that point, and I was scared to take him to the park or anything because I don't know. So it was a nice little precursor to worldwide pandemic. But anyway, so yeah, I don't know. I look forward to my dad getting vaccinated because he's really the one that I'm really worried about. I still think, whoop, I got a text message. I still think that, I mean, I'm still going to be nervous because we're not going to be able to vaccinate the kids for a while, and I'm not going to be vaccinated. I still think we had it back in February, but that was over a year ago now, and I don't know if we would even have continued immunity at this point, so I don't know. Anyway, you know, the different strains too, I don't know. So, the other thing that I was thinking about before I started recording is I don't use Facebook. I haven't used Facebook in years. You know, for a while I was posting like ads to my new videos on the Facebook page, which of course even text-only stuff was getting banned. But, you know, I reached a point like a month ago where I'm just like, fuck it, I'm not going to touch Instagram or Facebook at all anymore. But all the people, all the friends I had back in San Diego and stuff, I basically have no contact with them, you know, no way to contact them outside of Facebook. So reluctantly I went back there and I posted and said, you know, hey, we're thinking about, you know, if it's safe going down to visit either for VidCon or maybe in the winter, would anybody, you know, like to hang out? And the only people that replied were a very small handful of internet friends that I talked to already on Twitter. All the real life friends just totally ignored the post. So then I did another post that was like, hey, just looking to reconnect with, you know, some of you guys, blah, blah, blah. Nobody replied to that one. And I don't know if maybe I just don't show up on their timeline because I haven't posted in a long time or what. Matthew said that I showed up in his timeline and he's on Facebook all the time. So I don't know. But it's just this nice little kick in the face that, you know, I just don't really have real friends. I mean, not physical friends. There's people online that I care about, but even then, there's always going to be this layer of putting what you think they are, you know, on them because there's a big gap of, you know, what they're like when you're face to face. And I mean, I'm not saying that people are fake necessarily, but you can get a different impression of somebody online than you do when you meet them in person. But you know, all these people that I tried so hard to be friends with my whole life, basically, if I wasn't, you know, paying for things or always designated driver or just, you know, doing favors for them, somehow they were too busy to hang out, except that, you know, they'd be posting pictures from parties and stuff they went to. And that's a lifelong struggle for me. I really lack self-esteem. And I mean, I feel like, you know, even saying that I might not be horrible to hang out with, that I might actually be fun to hang out with, feels like like I'm lying. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. People suck. That's it, you know. Video games are life. Fuck people. I mean, there's good people out there, but I don't know. I feel like people have a very low tolerance for flaws in others, and I'm not talking about like harmful stuff or like racism, but even just someone, you know, talking a little too much or something. Like I'm a talker. You know, especially in times of COVID when I get so little socialization, you know, and like when I throw in something like, I don't know, the topic is, I don't know, zoos, and I'm like, oh yeah, I grew up at San Diego Zoo. I'm not saying it to talk about myself. I'm saying it as like an offering of like, this is my input on the thing. And, you know, if someone else is like, oh, I went to the Bronx Zoo, like, I'm happy to be like, you know, oh, how does the Bronx Zoo, you know, I'm not trying to just make the conversation about me. And I try to balance it with questions, you know, oh, what do you think, blah, blah, blah. But for me, it's really hard to find a balance where it doesn't sound like I'm interrogating them, but at the same time not talking about myself too much. I don't know. Freaking conversations are too much work, you know? I just that's why I miss being able to just play Super Smash with people and like, you know, at the gaming bar and just not even really have full conversation. I don't know. People suck. That's the long and short of it. Anyway, so that's about that. I need to get back to trying to sort papers and stuff. I'm like finding medical bills and stuff, and I'm like, I don't know, and old ones, like months old, and I don't know if they were paid or not, because, you know, the last couple of weeks in my mom's life, she really wasn't doing anything. She's just, you know, listening to the news and sleeping a lot, and I don't know. There's just so much to do, and I'm just, my headache's not too bad today, but like 2 days ago it was awful. Oh, I went and saw the neurologist again, and he basically just said, you know, your full, after I got the BB taken out, your full MRI doesn't show anything. It's not a tumor. It's not, you know, bleeding brain or anything like that. It will show on the MRI. So he basically had no idea what's causing it. I am weaning myself off the amitriptyline that he put me on because it wasn't helping, and it was giving me like really intense heart palpitations, which can be a side effect of it. So, you know, I'm getting off of it, and it is also an antidepressant, and maybe that's part of why I feel pretty depressed right now. But I think, you know, it's more like it makes it a little more intense, but I think the impetus is really just being so lonely, and yet still, even at 35, being in this place where I feel like I have to bribe people to want to be near me, which is really bad, you know? Just don't hang around with people that, you know, are just going to use you. But at the same time, is that really better than just being completely alone? Who knows? Yeah, I'm gonna get back to trying to fill out bills, figure out that stuff. I don't know. Kids are due to wake up from their nap soon. It is currently kind of sunny, so probably try to go for a dog walk. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just pretty depressed lately. I'm still not even really sad about my mom, which feels horrible to say. I was a little bit sad last night when I decided to braid my hair before bed, which I am terrible at. I can't really, you know, because I can't see what I'm doing, but it made me a little sad because the only person who has ever braided my hair besides myself is my mom. Because my dad's just like, I can't do it, and Matthew's like, I can't do it. Like, they won't even try. So unless I can like find a girlfriend, you know, not necessarily, well, it doesn't have to be sexual. I mean, girlfriend can be, you know, whatever. But find a girlfriend or something who likes to do that, or I don't know, if my boys end up, you know, wanting to do that stuff later. If that doesn't happen, then I'm never gonna, no one else is ever gonna braid my hair again. And it's almost like the, you know, picking off fleas from chimps or whatever, because my dad has this lifelong friend that still works at the San Diego Zoo, and she's a published author, and she sent us a bunch of books that she had written about animals, and they're children's books, you know, so I've been reading them to the boys, and she wrote these very like thoughtful, you know, dedication things or whatever, like hand wrote on the front page, you know, like, "Dear Lincoln Aiden, I hope that you know, have wonderful lives and your best friends like these animals," or whatever. Anyway, but we were reading one about his vervet monkeys, where the grandma basically took care of the baby because the mom just didn't connect with it or whatever. And reading that book, you know, and talking about our grandma that just died, their grandma, my mom, just kind of apropos, but that's about it. I hope to get more stuff done this week. I hope to be less depressed. Maybe someone on Facebook will actually finally reply and I can at least talk to somebody a little bit. It'd be nice. And I mean, you know, I have people on Twitter and stuff who are like, "Talk to me anytime," and sometimes I do, but it's just different than somebody that I've physically seen in person. And, you know, some of these people I've had conversations and stuff that felt, you know, two-sided, that felt like they were also, you know, like I wasn't torturing them by talking to them, but maybe it was just a very ephemeral, you know, only relevant to that exact moment in time, and as soon as the moment was off, you know, I mean, it meant nothing to them. It was just, it's the same as talking to somebody in a grocery store line. It's not like they were getting to know me as a person. I don't know. All right, well, back to work.